House to Home, presented by REMAX Diamond Realty.
House to Home is coming back at you like we never left. Half a day, everybody. Jason Salas and Liz Duenas and Gina Campos are here. Two of us are from REMAX Diamond Realty, and sneak peek, it ain't me. These are the two ladies. They know everything about real estate, and I'm so pleased and privileged to have them as my friends when they talk about various aspects of owning a home. Now, one thing I'm curious about, ladies, is especially since, the pandemic happened, what changes are there? And I'm sure there are many of them when it comes to inspections of any type of property, like residential, commercial, what have you.
Well, what the inspections are basically, let's say you're buying a house and you want to know what condition the home is in that you're buying it. Of course, if it's brand new, we talked about that a week ago, that if it's brand new, it does have its warranties, 18-month warranty. But when you're buying a regular home that's been, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, or 15, or even as much as 20 years, what are the guarantees that you have regarding the condition of the home? So when we meet with our buyers, we normally tell them, you can certainly bring a friend, bring an engineer, hire an inspector to conduct an inspection of the property in order to determine what are the conditions. Is the physical structure solid? Are there any structural issues? What are the issues with the home? So normally an inspector will go through the home, check whether it meets all the government codes. Are there any deficiencies with the home? So there's a series of things that they will do. Now, that's optional unless the buyer is getting a rural development loan, which a rural development loan will require for you to get an inspection, and they would normally submit that to the bank. So it's a requirement under that particular loan. So if there's any issues with the home, so.
Okay, Gina, what is, gosh, I'm just thinking, how much more sensitive are buyers and sellers to, just sanitization, disinfectant these days? I mean, I'm sure it's not the way it used to be.
It's not the way it used to be, but so on the realtor's part, we're really making an emphasis on having those, the sanitation done. It's part of our new protocol now as realtors. And so that, I feel like that falls on the agents right now to remind the sellers of what needs to be done. And then for sellers that are off island, it really falls on the listing agent then to go out there and make sure the home is sanitized before the showing. But on the inspection part, this is beyond that. This is, it falls under part of the negotiations when buyers are putting their contract together. Am I going to want an inspection done? And as Liz was pointing out, that inspection is conducted by another individual. That individual could be a licensed engineer, which I know Liz and I promote that. If you're going to get an inspection done, we give the buyers a list of inspectors that are willing to do this type of, they're in that type of field. Some of them are licensed engineers, but on top of that, they will conduct buyer inspections as well. So while you're writing up your contract, this is the time you make that decision. And Liz pointed out, there's really only one loan that says you've got to have it done. And that's the rural development. And for old school people like me, it was known as Farmers Home Loan. That's
old
the
school,
old
but young at heart.
Young, I mean, just heart. No, young, period.
Okay, well, yeah, you're a licensed realtor, and obviously you're just 23.
Yeah, but still old school. That loan was known as Farmers Home Loan, and now they refer to it as RD, or Rural Development. That's really the only loan out there, Jace, that requires that a home inspection be done. Now, if you fall into that category, and honestly, we haven't had too many of those loans nowadays, but if you fall into an RD loan, you need to ask your bank. It's going to be a requirement in your purchase agreement. You don't even have to think about it. But you have to ask your bank, who can I get to do this? Because each bank has a list of inspectors that they that they have approved to do those inspections. For everybody else, it's really based on the buyer's preference. Do I want to do the home inspection? It's part of a purchase agreement that you can have it done. Now, once you have it done, what on the inspection am I going to demand, if I even demand anything? Or is it more just so I'm aware of what I need to do potentially in the future after I buy this home? Because it is a seller's market. And I hate to say this, but under the circumstances, there's maybe 4 or 5 people lined up for that one home. So if a buyer starts making demands, are you going to be able to move that forward, or will the seller just say, okay, next? So you got to think about that.
Liz, let me give the last question to you as we wrap up. Have the events of the last half year or so, have they changed the timetables with which inspections are conducted and ultimately, pass or fail?
Well, in terms of the current conditions, the inspectors are pretty good. We normally provide a list to the buyers, and of course they pick, but the inspection normally takes a couple days, and it comes back and it's fairly detailed. A lot of these inspectors have programs already in place to accommodate the report. Sometimes the reports could be 50 pages long, 60, 80 pages long, because
and that is not light reading.
They are pretty detailed. So in terms of the inspection aspect, they're fairly quick. Now on the loan aspect, that we're seeing a bit more delays in the processing because they're backlogged. But as Gina puts it, yes, these inspections are pretty critical, and we normally tell the buyer it's totally up to them, it's optional. However, it saves them time to deal with, like Gina said, they're competing. So if they have a long list of demands, they may lose out on purchasing the home. I've had buyers who look through the list and say, oh, this is not a big deal, I can handle this, but we only want the seller to handle the 4 items, for example, that are considered safety hazards. So on top of that, there's another list of items, but the buyer's focusing on only the safety hazard issue to be remedied.
Okay.
Jace, I just have one more thing I wanted
yes,
to add
absolutely.
about
Final word.
the inspectors. In the past, many years ago, the inspectors we were able to utilize were almost all of them were licensed engineers who happened to do inspections as a side business to what they were already doing. Nowadays, we are finding that there are businesses and individuals who have popped up as home inspectors. I really don't know what the qualification is to be able to get your license as a home inspector. I don't know if they all are licensed engineers, but I know they all have a business as an inspector.
Maybe we can look into that for next week's episode.
We can. It'd be an interesting subject. But I would ask the buyers, the inspection process is important to you if you want peace of mind. Perhaps looking into the background of your inspector and how they can help you in this process, and find out what are their qualifications, just as you would when you're looking into the qualifications of your realtor.
Well, let us pick up on that next week. That's a very interesting topic, certainly one that warrants another entire discussion. So we'll take that next week. So Liz and Gina, as always, we thank you very much for your time and your insight. A realtor's work is never done. And these two, obviously your WhatsApp and phones have been blowing up like throughout this interview. So I'm going to let you guys get back to work. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.